Let's make sure everything connects. Just double checking, see if everything's getting through. Okay. Looks like we are up on the YouTubes. Hello, YouTubes. We've got the one, the only Jeff Slanovec joining us today. Jeff, how are you doing? Good, sir.
Great. It's a Friday with a real job. It means the work week is over and the weekend is here.
Mr. The man formerly known as Deepdish. I know we're inching in on thin crust territory. How are we doing today, sir?
We're doing well. I don't know that I've earned the name Thin Crust just yet, but things are good.
Gents, let's just start with your thoughts so far of the U.S. Open. Dish, you're on the top of my screen here. So why don't you lead us off? What have just been your general thoughts from what you've seen so far through 2 rounds of play? We got Ludwig Aberg topping the leaderboard.
I'm torn on whether I love it or I hate it. I like penalizing golf, and this feels overly penal. You have guys in good shots, so they're not really getting rewarded. Overall, I mean, I like where it's at. I like that they're not lighting it up. I just kind of wish we had a few more guys in the mix. It doesn't seem like a course where you can really go chase someone down if Aberg goes and shoots a couple under tomorrow.
I would say that's maybe my biggest worry, is that it feels like Ludwig could get away and go hide, and this thing becomes, the back nine on Saturday. This thing gets very uninteresting very quickly. Jeff, your thoughts?
I don't think that's going to happen. And I like it. I think we see too many times in golf where the greens are what they are, and you can miss the pin left, you can miss the pin right, you can miss the pin short. And here I think it provides a unique viewing opportunity for us because the green is not necessarily the green. There's a lot of parts of the greens that do not end up putting you in a good position. I think that makes the challenge great for these players because it's not, I landed at 6 feet left of the pin. I'm so unlucky I have to hit a chip or a putt from 30 yards off the green. Like, that. Like, they have books that tell them where the runoffs are, and they take all the notes. So if you know that that's happening, don't do it, right? Like, if you know you can't miss left of the flag and you hit what you think is a good shot and it's 6 feet left of the flag, then you didn't do good enough homework. And I struggle to believe that Ludwig in his first major run here is going to run away from the field this weekend at a course like that. Like, you just missed by a touch. Well, you pull it a little bit, it starts spinning the wrong way, and you've got a dicey shot there for your first weekend with a lead in the major.
I think I'm pretty torn because it seems like we're diving golf course early here tonight. But between both of your guys' comments, I'm really kind of torn on this place. I mean, the last U.S. Open we had here was super boring. I think I've been on record on the pod saying I can't stand Pinehurst, and I've felt myself wavering back and forth with what I've thought about it. I feel both of you made like a great argument. Like Dish was like, hey, there's good shots that they get totally boned. Like there's a shot that lands 7 feet right of the pin that's kind of in the right spot, and it just doesn't go the extra inch further to stay up on the hill. And at the same time, I feel like where you're coming from, Jeff, like, hey, that front's there and it should be there. And I do wonder, like, just with the way golf is today, like, can you have a real test where the good shots are rewarded, the bad shots are punished with just the way the golf ball is, how far everybody fucking hits it? Just like, can that all mesh together? But at the same time, I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I kind of like the carnage. Like, I don't really care sometimes. Like, these guys get to play, if they play 25 events a year on average, 22 of them, they're just hitting darts at every green. If they hit it on the green, they're fine. So I'm like, well, once a year, do I really care if like one shot gets, rejected when it shouldn't? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, do you guys have any similar feelings like that where like you're torn at all, or do you think you like kind of fall one way or the other? I mean, I know you kind of both took a little bit different stance, but I mean, where do you fall like as I kind of dive into that a little farther?
So,
I definitely have an answer. So I'll go first, I guess. I think we all enjoy the shots. Today it happened to be Mark Hubbard, I think, hit a shot to what it looked like was going to be like 8 inches on the first hole, and it ends up spinning all the way back off the green and whatnot. But then you watch the coverage, obviously in the background of work all day, and you see several other guys hit great shots with just different heights, different spins, different clubs that don't repel that way. So I guess my question that I would ask someone who has an issue with the golf ball doing that on these greens is, do you also have a problem when guys hit it 15 feet past the hole and spin it back to 6 inches? Because if you enjoy that aspect of golf, they have the ability to do that here too. Like if you hit the right shot, then you get rewarded. And if you don't hit the right shot, you come in with a full number that has full spin. You should expect that your golf ball is going to spin back, right? If you take an extra club or two and you knock it down with no spin, like several guys did to that first pin today, then you get rewarded for it, right? And if your shot doesn't have any spin, then you roll off the back, and that sucks for you too, right? So that's kind of, I guess, my view is we all love watching the ball spin back to the pin. Well, the guys are putting the spin on that, right? They're going to put it on elsewhere too. Here, it just happens to hurt you if you get it wrong.
Dish, your thoughts?
I'm definitely torn. Like I said, I also like the carnage. I like not seeing these guys get it up and down from everywhere and go make a fool of himself like they're, a weekend warrior around the green. I don't have an issue with the course conditions. I just wonder, are some of the pins overly aggressive towards those slopes?
It's fair.
Yeah, and these are definitely, uncommon greens, especially for what you see on tour. I mean, they talk all week, turtleback, upside down punch bowl. I mean, you've heard everybody's come up with their own different dumb analogy to give it what they want. And it's almost like we get kind of just accustomed to what we see on the PGA Tour every week, which is relatively soft greens. It's kind of a dart show outside of like 5 or 6 different tournaments at most. And really, as I say that, I'm thinking of like 2 or 3. It's like Memorial, Arnold's Place,
maybe Honda,
Riv, maybe. Like outside of those, like, is it just that this is so different from what we see week to week that like it's kind of shocking, and that if we saw this more often, we just think differently of it, or is this, just something really outside the realm and really a different course?
Well, I also think it's obviously a different course, but if you're asking our national championship to bring the best to the top, it is hard to look at the leaderboard right now, especially with Pavon limping in at the end of today, and look at a board that has Oberg, DeChambeau, Dietrich, Cantlay, Rory, Finau, Pavon, Matsuyama, Tom Kim, Hatton, Schauffele, Batia, and be like, it's funky, right? Like you have arguably some of the best players in the game there. And if you go not too far past that, like you get to Burns, you get to Sergio, you get to other guys that can play. So, I fully get that. And it's obviously much different. I think us on this pod would prefer some of the golf courses to be a little bit harder on the PGA Tour and not quite go shoot 28 under. But I think it's fun to see what these guys have to do this week. And I think it would be a little bit more normalized if some other courses made it a little bit more of a challenge. Grow the rough, whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I think my overall feeling is I'm not ready to make an opinion on the tournament. I need to see what happens on the weekend. What I would like to see them do, having it tough and whatever for the first couple of days is good. But as we go to a smaller field here, like make some more accessible pins, give us some opportunity for some fireworks. The course is still going to be tough, right? The green surfaces are half the size of what they really are.
Yeah.
And when guys get out of position, they're still going to make those bogeys and doubles. So let's just give them a chance to make some birdies too to offset that. And, let a guy go shoot 3-4 under and climb up the board 30 spots.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder what's going to happen this weekend. Did it cut us off? We might have gotten cut off, boys. Let's pause 1 second. Let me just check in on something here. No, I think we're still rolling.
Mine says live.
Mine also says live.
Yeah, we're still good. We're still good. Yeah, so I think this weekend is Jeff's browser is preventing recording. Okay, it doesn't matter if we record as long as we're going live. That's all I care about. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting this weekend. Like it's getting crispy out there. Like there's no doubt about it. It's 95 degrees. I think I like where your head's at, Dish. Like give us a little something. And even if you put them on shelves that are kind of tucked, like into corners of greens, but like give like more of an opportunity to hit it at it, even if there's like trouble right around it, I'm very okay with that. I would like to see, I think I'm with you that I'd like to see like the ability for people to make birdies, even if that comes with the ability for people to make like bogeys and doubles and triples, kind of like that pin on 5 today. I know I was texting with you, Dish, when it was happening, when Schauffele, Rory, and fucking Scotty, our boy Scotty we picked this week in fantasy, all hit it. A shot that was pretty close to the pin, and it had it stayed, 2 to 3 feet right. They have great looks for eagle, but if it goes just a little left like it did, they're in Fucksville, USA. Like, right. Give us more of that.
Miss that green right, you're in an okay spot. Like, I'm okay with stuff, like managing your misses and whatnot, like Slano was saying. But, we just need more pins like that where there's somewhere to go make a birdie from. We don't have. There's only 2 par 5s on the course, so you're not getting birdies from par 5s. So let's get a few more, gimme pins, if you will, that can still be challenging.
Do you guys think they let it get real crispy tomorrow, or do you think they put some water on it tonight?
I think they're going to just keep doing what they're doing. I think they like where the tournament's at from a scoring perspective. I think when you look at the leaderboard, the people who should have, I guess, the number one complaint would be those who either have not tried to hit driver as often as they need to, or those who are not hitting it straight enough. Like, I don't think that it matters where you put the pins if Ludwig keeps hitting 90% of his fairways with driver. Like, I don't think it matters where you put the pins if Bryson is hitting 85% of his fairways at the distance that he hits it, right? Like, those issues, the issues of having scoring clubs coming into pins that are more accessible is really only when you're talking about guys coming in from like a distance that, it's hard to hit a 210-yard shot to some of these pins. But I don't know that Ludwig and Bryson and Rory are hitting as many 210-yard shots as some of the other guys in the field. And
if you go strokes gained off the tee, just to kind of follow up on that, Ludwig leads the tournament plus 1.76, Rory's plus 1.74, Tim Whiting, who is in T9 at -1, is plus 1.55. He is amazingly then losing 0.43 strokes on approach, and then Bryson at plus 1.36, and then somehow strokes gained off the tee, a gentleman by the name of Luke Clanton, who I think is playing the weekend on the number, is 5th best in strokes gained off the tee at plus 1.24 for the tournament. His other strokes gained around the green is minus 1.02, approach is minus 0.01, tee to green is somehow 0.21, and then putting is just plus 0.36. So, I think what you're saying is like the guys driving it well, to kind of piggyback on that, are really playing well. And on top of that, while I'm kind of on the strokes gained thing, on top of being incredible off the tee, Ludwig is gaining 2.4 strokes putting the golf ball. He can't chip it to save his life, apparently, because he's minus 0.16 around the green, but 0.244 is pretty damn good for a guy who's also driving it damn near better than everybody else.
And Pavon feels like he hasn't missed anything.
Pavon is second in the field in strokes gained putting at plus 0.269, trailing Harris English, who is putting at plus 2.89.
Just wasting it.
Just completely wasting it because he's only positive in one other strokes gained, and that's off the tee at plus 0.37.
For a tour that is completely like putter dependent, unless you're Scotty Scheffler, it must stink to waste a good putting week while you can't do anything else. Like literally, some of these guys would win if they just putted it like the guy who ended up with, and you blow it. Like I couldn't hit an iron, a wedge, or a driver.
But I putted the fucking lights out of it for par and bogey.
Yeah, I scraped together a $70,000 paycheck.
Everybody gets paid this week, I think, right? Doesn't everyone get paid at the U.S. Open? Isn't that their thing? I thought they paid everybody.
That's regardless of American.
Never been there to find out.
Hey, Jeff will be there next year. Let's run down the leaderboard now that we've gotten our golf course takes out of the way. We got Ludwig. We got Thomas Dietrich at second at 4 under. Ludwig leads at 5. Pat Cantlay, Bryson DeChambeau joined Dietrich at 4. At 3, we have Matthew Pavon, Big Tone, Tony Finau, Rory McIlroy. We have Hideki Matsuyama, solo 8 at 2 under. We have a number of 1-unders, including Xander Schauffele, Corey Connors, Tim Whiting, Tom Kim, Zach Blair, who hits it fucking nowhere, Tyrrell Hatton, and Ashke Bhatia. And then there's a couple of guys at even par. So I ask you guys this. Before we dive into individual guys, how far back is too far back to win this golf tournament? Where do you have to be an actual player in this golf tournament for this weekend? Dish, what are you thinking?
So this is where I don't know where this tournament is going to go, because as much as Slano's saying I don't think he runs away, if you're even par, I just don't see you chasing down 5 under. Like maybe that's as deep as you get is 5 under from even par. So we're down to what?
9 guys.
15 guys?
Or sorry, 15 guys. 15 guys.
Yeah. And that's where I don't like where this tournament's heading, is like I just don't think there's the opportunities to make birdies to, go shoot a round of 4 under, 5 under one day to get yourself back into the tournament.
And I'll say this. I look at the guys at 1 under. Like, I think I'm with you. I think even's way too far back. I think 1 under is a touch too far back myself. But, like, even if you, like, line it up, you're like, okay, the guy's at 1 under. Ashke Bhatia, he's not doing it. Like, he's not coming back from 4 back. Tyrrell Hatton, I don't know. I don't see it there. Zach Blair, it's a fucking miracle that he's where he's at. He's gaining almost 2 shots in the approach. He hits at like 280. Tom Kim, I don't see it with him. I don't know who the fuck Tom Whiting is.
He's going to be the guy.
Now that I said that, he's going to be the guy. So, like, at the ones, I really only see, like, the people that can kind of go get it are Xander, who you bingoed the absolute shit out of today, Dish. He was at, like, 3 or 4 under, and you're like, man, he's really got great control of his golf ball. Yeah. Boom, double bogey.
Hit him right off the tee on 5.
I think he hit that ball like 220.
Yeah.
And then Corey Connors hits his irons so good that, like, I think if he gets hot and starts stuffing it, he could run one off. But, like, those other guys, I don't see it. So, like, I only see 2 guys at 1 that I think can make it. And then it's like, I really think it's like 11 guys I think are really all that's in this tournament. I mean, Jeff, are you seeing something different? Like, are you seeing someone down the leaderboard, like, that's going to come get this?
It's not going to be Scotty Scheffler.
No shit.
But I would have
5 under.
The history at the U.S. Open, at least in recent history, says that chasers don't have a chance. I think I saw a stat somewhere that like the last 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever it has been have all been within 3 going into the weekend or 4 going into the weekend. I do think that because of how the guys at the top have been playing, like you do look like Ludwig shot 1 under today, right? Like it's not like he's gone like 67. Like he played really good the first day. He played by the numbers very good today, but it was just 1 under, right? Bryson shot 1 under today. Dietrich is going to wake up and realize at some point this weekend that he's Thomas Dietrich. So he's irrelevant in this.
Don't tell my buddy Trevor that. He's a fellow Illinois Illini with Mr. Thomas Dietrich. I think they graduated in the same year. He's going to be hurt that you said that.
But then you look at others like Cantlay was over par today. Rory was over par today. Pavon, same thing as Dietrich. Like he's probably not.
Pavon's going to fucking
right?
He's
So
gonna fucking eject
all of a sudden
sometime.
you look and like, I think if there's one guy who's has a chance to run away, I don't think it's Ludwig. I think it's Bryson. He's been there before. He's won it. He has the distance. He can putt. But I just don't know that he is going to run away. So I wish that someone between +1 and even, or even like +2, like you go back down to the +2s. There's not even one of them that I'm like, they're going to go shoot 4 or 5 under in the morning.
That's like the thing. Like I get to the evens and I'm like, there are no like dudes. That,
correct. Like Sergio's not going to do it. Russell Henley could shoot 2 under, right? Like, but is he going to win on Sunday?
Quick stop on Sergio. Fucking credit to Sergio for going out and qualifying for the U.S. Open.
Yep.
Like the dude went to live. He took the money, and like there's a lot of people that go over there, and you got jackass. What's his fucking name? Dipshit. That's like, oh, I'm not qualifying for the U.S. Open. Like fucking Sergio fucking sacked up. He went to qualifying. Taylor Gooch. Thank you. He sacked up. He went to qualifying, and he's kind of balling like this week for a dude
Tyrrell
who's like
Hatton too.
Tyrrell Hatton too. Like for, I really want to shout out Sergio because like he's like 45,
right?
Like, good for that fucking dude. Like that's playing golf. But yeah, like you keep going down that list, like Nicolai Højgaard, Taylor Pendrith,
right?
Frankie Capon the third. Who the fuck are these guys?
I think someone could had they been in the mid, like Cam Smith, for example. Like I think got to 3 over today.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just too far. Like that extra shot matters unless you see the entire leaderboard collapse. And someone on that leaderboard is going to shoot 70 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
like if Scotty was at like 2 over, he'd be like, eh.
Correct. Like I think Xander for sure is in the mix, right? He's at 1. Hatton putts it well enough that he's in it. Tom Kim is in it. Hideki, a lot of people liked coming into this week. I think just
Hatton is putting it fucking terribly this week. He's only he's plus 0.21 putting strokes gained. So like if his putting flips around, he's around the greens is incredible, which may be kind of affecting that and making his putting look bad.
Right.
Just the way strokes gain can work. But
like I think Hideki, like it's hard to follow up 66 in a US Open again tomorrow. Yeah. I think the furthest down I'd go, like, I think Sam Burns could shoot like 68. Like, he's a Southern kid, right? Like, probably used to playing on golf courses like Pinehurst. Like, I think that's probably as far down as I'd go. But I still think that, like, you'd probably feel pretty good sitting in the clubhouse at 5 under. 6 under the next 2 days.
The only way you get back in this tournament, right, is with the putter. I think that's very evident there. It's like you can hit it as good as you want. You can hit the best you ever hit it, and that's not going to be enough to get you back in the tournament at this place. As I sit here and watch people hit chips and the ball roll back to their feet on repeat on Live From.
Has Johnson Wagner gotten out on the golf course yet? I haven't been keeping a good enough eye on Live From.
No, not that I've seen, but if he pops up on there, I'll be sure to, let you tune in.
I was gonna. It's 8:44 Eastern, so sun's about to go down. This would be about the time he may be out there, or like just before. I'm sure they like record that first and then put it on, so we could be on Johnson Wagner watch right now. By the way, Johnson Wagner on Live From just going out there and shanking balls left and right, and finally last night being like, "Oh, I hit 2 balls on the green. This is a fucking win." It's been incredible television.
Yeah, I think I texted you the chat the other day. I turned it on at one point laying in bed, and I think I was watching a replay from the earlier show, obviously. And in a 4-shot stretch, watched him skull one from a bunker and then putt 3 balls that he was trying to make off the green in a row. Like just
I saw one where he hit 1 chip and it was actually like okay, and by okay I mean like 15 feet, and he's just like, I'm not hitting the other one.
I think that was the last night one from the bunker.
So mine was from behind the green that I saw.
Okay, yeah, he did one from the bunker, and he kind of had the same take. He was like, oh, that's like 10 feet. I can make that. I'm moving on.
Yep.
All right, so let's just limit this to the guys at T5 or better, because I think that's where the tournament's at. Who are the real players here? I think we kind of know. I don't think there's any surprises here. So in that group, we have Ludwig, Thomas Dietrich, Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Matthew Pavon, and then Rory McIlroy. I'm cutting it off at -3. I mean, we can include Hideki in this. Let's just include Hideki in this for argument's sake. Who are the guys who tomorrow in the back nine, finishing the day, who's involved, who's really got a shot to win this going into Sunday? Dish, what are you thinking? Give us 4 or 5 guys. Give us all of them if you want. Give us none of them if you want. Like, what do you think?
All right. So, I mean, obviously, Ludwig and Bryson, those are given. I think Rory will be there. He's hitting it pretty good. He hits it high enough. Cantlay is going to shoot 75 because I said he was going to do that today, and he didn't. And I'm going to say Tony Finau hangs around for another day.
Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 8 people. 2 of them we've already said have no shot. So that leaves us with 6. We all seem to hate Cantlay. That guy can't close like a no-cut event ever on a Sunday. So do we really think he's going to close a U.S. Open? The only thing he's got going for him is his best friend just won the PGA. So maybe
he's a craftsman, though, man. He's a craftsman.
Maybe that motivated him a little bit the last month. I think it's Bryson or Rory. I think Finau is the other guy that he's been just good enough the last couple months that, like, even par, like, if he does that for 2 more days, he hangs in it, right? Am I remembering correctly that he was around Shinnecock too when it was at Shinnecock? And that was like just a brutal test of
until
golf.
Sunday, and they watered everything, and Tommy Fleetwood is out there shooting 62.
I just feel like when it gets really tough, Finau shoots even par and he's there, and then all of a sudden they go to the PGA Tour the next week. He's got to shoot 24 under and he can't. Right?
What was Shinnecock 18?
Sounds right.
He was 5th, solo 5th that year.
Yeah, so I think he's in it. I think it would be. I said to a couple of people, he happened to be my TCC, or I couldn't pick him in TCC. I'm sorry, I had Bryson in that, but it feels like Rory has been under the radar this U.S. Open, and he's won twice the last couple months. He's been arguably one of the best players in the world besides Scotty or Xander the last couple
for like
months.
2 years, honestly. Like, he's been playing really good golf for like 2 years.
He just hasn't won a major in a decade, right? Which is crazy to say. But every other time, like, how many times do we come in? Oh, it's in his hometown and for the Open. He still hasn't won the Masters. He is back at Valhalla, right? Like,
LACC sets up perfect for him.
Right. Like, this is the first one in forever where we've come in and been like, yeah, like, Rory's just another guy, right? Like, Scotty's definitely winning it, right? And here we are, like, Rory, ho-hum, like, 2 back going into the weekend.
By the way, on the quick Scotty thing, should Scotty fire that fucking barber just straight into the sun for what he did to him this week? Just, brutalized his fucking haircut, but then just totally ruined him for this week.
Bad vibes.
I'm a firm believer that you don't get a haircut during golf season unless you're playing bad.
It's not a bad idea. I know he kind of like shaved the beard down for Memorial, but like there was still like a heavy stubble like on Sunday in those like post-win pictures. So
he was really bad. I shouldn't say really bad, but for Scotty standards, like,
he was really bad.
Really bad for Scotty. Like, yeah, he missed some putts, but like, he's not in the fairway very often. Like, he was missing greens. When he did have opportunities, he missed them, but that's Scotty Scheffler. Like,
yeah, he had like a mid-round stretch where it was like he started hitting it pretty good and like could have got his round going. He just couldn't get it to go in the hole. And then,
yep.
Which feels like is a kind of normal thing for Scotty, that like there's always a stretch where he's like stuffing it and it's like, oh, he's about to run away with this and he just can't pour a bunch in. But then he just keeps stuffing it and then knocks like 2 in and like gets the lead from like 2 to 4.
We also don't get in the spot where it feels like Scotty needs those putts to go.
Yeah.
Like, he's just going to keep doing it. He's going to keep getting looks, and sooner or later he's going to wish one in. And like, it felt like when he finally got looks today, it's like, wow, these have to go for him.
For the tournament, he has lost. He's negative 1.86 putting.
Yikes.
Off the tee, he hasn't been very good either. 0.09, and then around the green, 0.32. approach is plus 2.02, and then T2 green plus 2.43. So I mean, it's on and around the green that has really
just
killed
not in
him.
the fairway enough. Like, which goes back to our conversation about what the guys at the top are doing, right? Like, the guys at the top are in the fairway, and they're far in the fairway.
Yeah,
so they're
driving the shit out of it. So Big Boy Bryson, let's go there. Is this Big Boy Bryson's time again? He's somehow found a way, and as a guy who never really liked him to begin with, I'm watching him recently. He's engaging. He's like fun to listen to all of a sudden. I have thought many of the things he said about himself, golf, par 68 at Augusta. I think he said a lot of dumb shit about Liv. And then all of a sudden I'm like, fucking, this guy is awesome. Like, this is the third time essentially I've seen him this year because I just can't stand watching Liv. I think it sucks.
Is that still on TV?
The CW, I believe.
Right
but like
probably some knockoff Judge Judy comes on after it or something like that.
One Tree Hill reruns, I think, come on when the final round finishes. Sometimes before the final round finishes, I think they got cut off by in a playoff one time. But like, what's happened with Big Boy Bryson? Like, do you guys like have the same feeling I do that like all of a sudden like he's kind of likable and like you're almost rooting for him? And like, because when we left him off the Ryder Cup team last year, I was like, yeah, there's fucking no way you can bring that guy. Like, he's gonna be a cancer in the fucking locker room. Nobody likes him. And now I'm like, Jesus, we should have fucking brought Bryson. This guy's fucking awesome. He's driving it all over. He's fist pumping. Like, do you guys get the same feeling about him that I do? And then on top of that, like, is this his time to win?
Roll Dish.
I still don't really like him. I mean, he's definitely got a little less sandpaper to him. He's not as much of a douche when he makes his nerdy statements, but Wally ran away when I said I didn't like him. I guess he really is a fan.
Big fan.
But yeah, I don't think it's his week. I'm pretty set on Ludwig winning. He's playing way too solid.
Jeff,
Dish,
you gotta go. I didn't hear anything.
Dish said it's Ludwig's week. That's what you missed while you were gone.
It's hard to argue that. Like, do you have an argument against that?
It's really hard to do it the first time in your third ever major.
But is it his first time? Like, he got in contention Sunday at Augusta. He made one bad swing that lost in the tournament. He shined at the Ryder Cup. Like, this dude's got stones.
Oh, he's good. Yeah, it feels to me like a golf course that you've either got to get really lucky when you do miss it, and he hasn't missed it very much this week, right? Like, as much as we talk about around the greens, we haven't really talked about like the luck around the greens, right? Like, a lot of the luck has come in terms of where your ball is when you miss off the tee. And the reason these guys are at the top of the leaderboard is because they're not missing off the tee, right? Like, you can miss around the greens. It goes to runoff areas. You're in a bunker. Yeah, those shots are all difficult. But it's not like you're missing it in the bunker and your ball might be like next to a giant bush, right? Like, whereas when you miss the fairways, you're now maybe in a bush, maybe on sand, maybe perfect, maybe dead.
The wiregrass. The wiregrass.
That's right. The wiregrass. And I like Ludwig. I just think it's going to be really hard for him to. He just went under par the first two rounds. Only 4 guys in the tournament have done that. It seems like it's going to be hard for him to continue to do it. And that 70-70 might be good enough.
Yeah, I don't feel like he needs to really go under par the next 2. I think he needs to just hang on and do it. Also, I believe the last 4 or 5 U.S. Open winners going back to Brooks were all first-time major winners when they won.
That is correct. And they were good first-time major winners. But or they've become good since then, right, Scott? It's
Wyndham last year, Matt Fitzpatrick. What's 21?
Rahm.
Yep. Rahm at Torrey.
20 is Bryson.
Yep.
19 is 19 Gary Woodland.
Yeah, and then Brooks.
Yeah, so really,
Gary Woodland's the outlier.
Yep.
Yeah,
Going back to Bryson,
I would say Wyndham was nobody until he kind of won the U.S. Open. I mean, I know he won at Wells Fargo, but I don't think anybody like counted him as a dude before that.
No, I think I remember watching that U.S. Open, and I thought, I don't know if you guys remember this. Was it the short par 4 or the par 3? I think it was the short par 4 where he hit it like into that bush, whiffed one, pretty much. It like came out. I was like, oh, here we go. Like, this is the blow up. And he ended up chipping it on and making bogey. And it was like, oh, he like survived it. Like, I thought that was like the 7 waiting, and then he was going to disappear, and then he didn't.
And that was Rory's tournament if that happened. Since my guy Ricky decided to do the same thing. But going back to Bryson, because that's where this initially started. I just think he's a guy who's fit live. And then maybe this is a discussion about just what is live for these guys moving forward. With Rahm's injury, and Dustin Johnson might as well just turn.
I had Dustin Johnson on the lead on the topic list, so feel free to include that in there.
He seems like a guy who the live just fits. He's in his own element. He's allowed to do all the media stuff and the videos and the YouTube and whatever other platforms these 14-year-old kids are watching Bryson on. And he seems to kind of be in his own thing. Like, he's always been different. He's figured out a way to make sure that his game is ready to go for the 4 times a year that he gets to put on a show for people that watch the PGA Tour, right? And obviously plenty of other guys are not that way. And I think it speaks a little bit to Bryson. I think until Brooks imploded today, I think people felt the same way about Brooks. Like, he was there at the beginning of the PGA. Was it PGA or Masters? He was there in the beginning of one of them.
The PGA. He was
before he just kind of faltered over the weekend. Like, another guy who just, it seems to fit the live thing. Like, that's how he was before anyway, right? He didn't really care much of the year. Got his game ready for a couple tournaments a year, and Bryson has figured out a way to make sure that for 4 weeks he's prepared.
Let's do Brooks while we're on the subject. So what, 2022 was the first live year, right? Right before the U.S. Open in 2022.
Why do I feel like it was like the end of 2022? Like, didn't they have like a half a season?
I think it started. Yeah, it started.
The whole announcements came right before the either the U.S. Open or the PGA. The U.S. Open that year, I think.
Okay.
So Brooks has been kind of a mixed bag since then. So that U.S. Open, he was 55th in 2022. Just go 2022 for Brooks. He's been a real kind of weird case since his last, not counting the PGA, since his prior PGA win back in 2019. He was going through some injury stuff in like 2020, and even in 2021 when he ran off a bunch. So in 2020, he goes T7 at the Masters, T29 at the PGA, doesn't play the U.S. Open. There's no British Open. He gets cut at the Masters in 21, T2 at the PGA, T4 at the U.S. Open, T6 at the British. 2022, I think he's going back through some of the same injury stuff. He gets cut at the Masters, T55 at the PGA, 55th at the U.S. Open, cut at the Open Championship. 2023, it looks like everything's going great again. He's in kind of down the stretch at the Masters. He kind of peters out late, but he's right there to start the day. Wins the PGA. T17 at the U.S. Open, good showing. T64 at the British. I mean, weird shit can happen. But then this year he goes T45 at the Masters, T26 at the PGA. Like you said, he was kind of around and then really kind of fell off. And then kind of the showing that looked like he was going to be right involved in this and then just kind of disappeared, really kind of going down the stretch today. So he's an interesting case. I mean, he's a hard guy to figure out. He was a fucking killer for like 3, 4, 5 years almost in majors, and then has been kind of a mixed bag the last 3. He's a really interesting study that I don't think that like you said that Bryson is really someone you can like say, hey, Liv has really worked for. I don't know where you put Brooks in that bag because it works sometimes and then other times it doesn't. And that kind of falls into the same stretch that was in the PGA Tour for him. Like he doesn't show up during regular events, but then was killing it in the majors. I mean, from 2017, really the very end of 2016, I mean, shit, even if you go back to 2015, I mean, there's yellow all over his Wikipedia page, yellow and green for top 10s and wins in the majors. Whereas like a guy like Bryson, it seems like this has been kind of a revitalization for him. And then you have the guy on the total flip side. I mean, granted, he's getting old, but like Dustin Johnson has just been fucking non-existent since he's gone over there. So like, it's weird. I don't think there's any one like theory to come away with from all of this.
Well, Bryson's a golf nerd. I feel like he went there and loves golf just as much as he did when he left.
Mm-hmm.
Ram, I feel like it's too soon to tell.
And Brooks hates golf. And probably still hates it just as much, but he likes winning. Right? Yeah. And money. Yeah. I think the thing that makes Brooks such a hard study is like that full swing episode with Brooks, when you talk about that 2022 season, like there was a lot of stuff going on there. Like he wasn't handling the injuries well. He wasn't handling being out really well. He was about to become a father for the first time. Like there's a lot going on there that also happened to coincide with him leaving the PGA Tour at the same time. Like that a lot of that was happening. And then he comes out and wins last year. And it was like, oh, like, okay. Right. And you've got Cam Smith wins the Open the year before and then says he's going to live. And then Brooks becomes the first live guy to win a major. Right. Cam Smith announced like 2 weeks later, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. They were asking him at the press conference, like, are you going to live? And he's like, I'm not talking about that.
I think he is an interesting study. I think it's more interesting to study some of the other people. Like, we're never going to figure Brooks out. We couldn't figure him out when he was on the PGA Tour.
That was what I was trying to get at in so many words. But, yeah, you nailed that.
We're not going to figure him out on live. Like, he's going to show up in majors. He's probably going to be ready to play in them. It shouldn't surprise us when he's there. I think it's a lot of these other guys, DJ being the probably number one of them, where it's like, what happened to your day-to-day routine? And what happened to your preparation? And something's just not there. And there's plenty of other guys too. Like Abe Answer's nowhere to be found anymore, right? Like
Joaquin Neiman, he was really good, like worldwide, but like has done nothing in majors.
And then we just hyped up Sergio and Hatton before, but if you would have asked us at the PGA about those guys, like they might not have even been there, but like terrible. Like Sergio wasn't good at the Masters, was he?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, right? So like, I don't know. It's hard to figure out.
I mean,
Tyrrell Hatton was T9 at the Masters, but 63rd at the PGA. And
what got him into the Masters?
What's that?
What got him into the Masters? I don't even remember him at the Masters.
Must have been world ranking points because he went so late in the year. Because actually, he didn't even go late in the year. He went over the offseason, essentially. So I'm sure his world ranking.
Oh, that's right. Because he joined Rahm's team. Yeah. That's true.
I mean, do we really think that DJ has hit a golf ball outside of a practice round or a tournament event since he went to live? I'm not convinced. I mean, he said from the start he was going for the money.
What's really weird about DJ, and I think Sergio's kind of another tough case because he's old. Like, I mean, he's damn near 50, right? What is he here? I just pulled him up. He's 44. Shit, he's not as old as I thought. He's only 44, but I feel like he's an old player on the tour. Like he's been around since he was so young. Like I think he showed up when he was 19. But like I felt like he was kind of past his stuff when he went there. Like he was one of those guys like the Poulters, the McDowells, the Keimers.
One more bag.
Yeah. But like DJ was number one in the world in 2021. Like he was 1 year removed from being the number one player in the world.
And had just won the Masters in November. Yeah.
And it felt like he was a guy that was going to thrive in this. Like the kind of, I don't give a shit. I'll just show up and play whenever. And I did see something on Twitter today, and you can never fucking know what any of that shit means. But someone was like, "Yeah, the routine and like his run up to the majors was really affected by all this." And it's like, man, is that much like going into like his routine, like his preparation? Because it does. I read that and I was like, man, I felt like Dustin Johnson was the perfect fit for LIV. Like he was going to go over there. He was going to get a little extra money in like kind of the twilight of his career, and he was going to show up 4 times a year, and he was going to drive the shit out of it. He was going to hit the fucking shit out of his irons, and then if he got hot with the putter, he was going to be very involved in some tournaments. And he has been just a nothing burger since he went. And like he was one of the first big names that went and like really took all the heat and was just like, I'm just going for the money. Like there's nothing to it. And like it felt like it was going to kind of just bounce off his shoulders. And his best performance since going is a T27 at the US Open last year. He's been cut 4 times otherwise. He hasn't played in the PGA. He didn't play in the PGA the last 2 years. And didn't play in the British Open last year either. Which is wild. Like he's done. Just an incredible thing.
Why didn't he play? He's still qualified for them, right?
What else? Did we miss anything, boys? Like, is there anything we haven't talked about? You know who we haven't talked about? I want to get this in. We've like kind of mentioned him like in passing a couple times. Pat Cantlay. I know Dish, you kind of took a shot at him, and Jeff, you took a shot at him. Dish, you're like, oh, he's going to shoot 75. Jeff, you're like, oh, he's not going to be involved in the weekend. We just know that. Dish, you texted me something this afternoon. You're like, oh, I was a big Pat Cantlay's going to win a major guy. And I was on that same block for a long time, and I kind of wrote him off. But then coming out of the Ryder Cup this fall, I was like, oh, man, he's kind of found something. Like he found a little spark. He was involved down the stretch of that Saturday afternoon thing, hit a big putt, was really dragging. I don't remember if he won or lost his match Sunday, but whatever he did, he dragged it on for a long time. Like, are you guys just totally like sold on the fact that he's not going to be involved by the back 9 tomorrow?
I hope he WDs so those pick up the pace of play.
Anybody? Bueller?
Did you not
Dish,
hear Dish?
Did you mute yourself, Dish?
I heard
did not. Can you hear me now?
Did you mute yourself? Did everybody mute themselves?
I can hear Slano just fine.
Somebody say something.
Can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
Somebody say something.
Can you hear me?
Well, you're going through on YouTube, but you're not coming through to me.
Did you mute us?
So I think that's a sign, boys. Let me see if I can do something here. See if I just do this and do that.
For the record, for those watching on YouTube,
all right, what do you got for me? Anybody?
I think he'll linger.
Nope, nothing.
I don't think he's going
all right.
Wait,
well, the only thing we missed was Pat Cantlay tonight. So give us Dish. You start. Give us your final thoughts, and then we'll close this thing out.
You need to hire an IT guy.
If that's Dish's final thoughts, Jeffy, you give us yours, and we'll call it good too.
I would love to see nothing more than Rory and Bryson dueling it out and Ludwig not choking.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you. Oh, Jeff is talking now.
See you,
well, boys. Oh, no, Dish, you want to jump back in? I can't hear you, but if you want to jump back in. Oh, Dish is out. Jeff, anything to leave us with?
No.
You can't hear me either, apparently. Who cares? All right, boys, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody can hear me still, thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Or no, not tomorrow, Sunday.